Hello guys, so today we are wrapping up the nullification crisis by talking about the Tariff of 1839 and what's known as Clay's Compromise. So, South Carolina stood firm against the Tariff of 1828 with such acts of defiance as lowering the flags to half-mast. These displays made President Jackson realize that intervention was necessary. John C. Calhoun still carried some influence with the president, who, at Calhoun's urging, encouraged Congress to enact the Tariff of 1832. So we have another tariff on the books. Tariff of 1832. What does what does that do? The new tariff the new tariff reduced the rate of the tariff of 1828. However, producers in the South remained distraught over the high tariff and resisted this compromise as well. So lowered the original tariff. But was the South happy? No. So they did not like this either, so they rejected it. Again, the Nollies asked the South Carolina legislature to nullify the tariff, which would affect the entire Union. This time the legislature agreed. In fact, the legislature went further by choosing Robert Y. Hayne as the new South Carolina governor. So, change in leadership as well. Okay. However, President Jackson was tired of threats from the Nollies and designated the idea the idea that one state could nullify a federal law and secede from the Union. His response was firm. He met their challenge by raising an army and sending it to South Carolina. Shortly after his re-election, in his annual message, Jackson stated his intention to enforce the tariff, although he too encouraged Congress to reduce the burdensome tariff rates. So he wasn't gonna be messed around with. He wasn't gonna be pushed. His stance was firm. That he's no longer gonna take this pushback from the Nollies. Jackson followed his speech 6 days later with the Nullification Proclamation, which further denounced South Carolina's act. So, Nullification Proclamation. He was ready to send in the troops, ready to send in the troops. With his army standing ready to enforce the tariff, Jackson called South Carolina's bluff. He called upon Congress to develop a force bill to authorize his use of army personnel to enforce the tariff. So we have the the force bill that Jackson was using. With South Carolina painted into a corner, Calhoun, who had resigned his vice presidency to lead the nullification cause, pleaded with his old friend Henry Clay to help him. Sorry, guys. So he called in his buddy, his good old buddy, good old pal, Henry Clay, to devise a solution to this problem. Clay, who had been embroiled in the scandals surrounding the 1824 presidential election, responded with a compromise proposal. Under Clay's plan, the high tariffs that burdened the South would be reduced by 10% over an 8-year period. The compromise tariff of 1833 was passed by a small minority in Congress, but it finally brought about significant tariff change. The new rates were not as low as the Southerners would have liked, but they were more pleased with the compromise than they were the force bill. In response, although the South Carolina legislature voted to rescind its nullification of the Tariff Acts, it also nullified Jackson's force bill. So this was basically nullified. By the nullification of the force bill was a moot point, but it allowed South Carolina to feel a small taste of victory. However, the issues of nullification and secession had stirred the first rumblings that would eventually lead to the Civil War. So that was one part of Andrew Jackson's domestic policy we are going to cover in the next few days. There's two more parts. If you want to read on ahead, you can. The Bank of the United States, and I want to try to do this with two hands. Indian removal. That's what we are going to talk about in the next few days. Enjoy the day. Complete the assignments. Let's go.